Well, the time has come. I have been dreading this moment for a while. You know, I like to work on stuff, but you know, this big old thing, it's a job usually, anything you got to do to it. So I've got to fix a coolant leak. I believe it's coming from the radiator hoses. So they're pretty old, need replaced. All the belts need replaced on it too. It's a 3208 turbo Caterpillar. So we're going to dig into this thing. Got to take the bumper off, the grill off, see if the radiator will swing out. If it won't swing out, we're going to have to take it out, maybe build hinges so it will swing out. I'm not really sure which way that's going to go. That was an option. So we're going to dig into it and get the bumper off. Alright, let's get down here and see if we can get this bumper off. You can see this thing right here. I'm not sure if the previous owner added that. I think he did. This is razor sharp. This done cut a hole in my shirt, cut two of my knuckles off. On razor blade. Definitely have to improve upon that before it goes back on. Now, I'm gonna need to get up in here, and I don't know if you can see. Okay. We got two nuts back in there. Two on the other side, and then these two here, one on each side. Let's see how that works. I sprayed these this morning. Not spinning out in the bumper, so that's good. Always one. Alright, now let's see if we can get this. Nut on top of that. Let's have a 9/16 wrench. just awesome. I'm feeling better. Okay, well, got the bumper off, and now we're going to try to get this grill out. We've got some, looks like we've got some socket head cap screws. There's 2, 3, 4. Got to take this trim ring all off, and then there's probably another one in there. Same thing on this side. Now that we have the bumper swung down and the grill off of here and this big plate across the front gone, we're going to go ahead and start taking the intercooler out, and which means we're going to get in here and take these clamps here loose right there on both sides, and then we'll pop the intercooler out and see what we got to do to get the radiator out, or swung it. Hopefully it'll swing out. Don't know yet. Can't really tell. Intercoolers first. See if we can get in here and these gear wrenches really make life a little bit easier. Stuff like this. I don't know how many times whenever I was a kid thinking, man, it'd be so cool if we had a wrench that was a ratchet, because you didn't have room to get a socket and a ratchet on there. It would have been so cool to have this, but somebody finally invented it. And it works good. Man, they were expensive when they came out. This is an original set of gear wrenches. The first ones that came out. And I think just this set of, just a set of standards was like $100. Just 3/8, 7/16, ½ inch, 9/16, 5/8, 11/16, and 3/4. And then the metric set was 10 millimeter up to 19 millimeter. I have that too. I actually got these for free, but it was only because, well, it was expensive to get them. They didn't cost any money, but they were expensive to get because I got them whenever my older brother passed away. So they were his. He bought them and paid for them. So tough way to get them, but I'm lucky to have them. Thank you, Monty. So enough of that. See if we can, I don't know how at least I gotta get this. They got a lock nut. It's a lock nut on here. Maybe a nylon nut, I'm not sure, but it stays snug the whole way. That might be loose enough. You can see the bolt wiggling around in there. I might be able to just stick a screwdriver in there and knock it loose. I need to rotate it down so that I can get to the one behind it, because it's got 2 clamps on each one of these. Must be some serious boost there. Yeah, got it loose. There we go. All right. I don't know if I can shimmy that down here. Sometimes you just gotta shimmy it. There we go. See if we can get it a little more loose. There we go. That's down out of the way. Okay, now that we have the intercooler clamps loose on the tubes, we're going to go ahead and unbolt it here, here, and here. And then by my calculations, it looks like it should just pull right out of there. Of course, you know, my calculations aren't always right. But we'll see. First thing I want to do is squirt a little bit of this juice on there. I don't see anything that so far appears to show signs of a swing out. Well, no, I was wrong. It does. Hallelujah. There is a hinge. Let me show you this. It's a heavy duty hinge. It's pretty big. Looks like it's got, I don't know, maybe a 3/4 inch pin in it. Right there. I saw this, the head of that pin right there. And then I come over here and looked, and I saw right there's the hinge. So I'm gonna call for a hallelujah on that one. I like that. Thank you, Rick Toucher, or Bluebird, whichever one put it on. Possibly. So bolt back there and one here. Hopefully those are welded nuts on the back. Amazing. So many bolts in so little time. Hopefully I don't have to take my parking light off, but if I do, I do. Right here, it looks like it'll swing out around it. We'll have to take this mount off for the intercooler. There's just these two bolts over here. Let's see. Alright, times like this, before I tear something up that costs many thousands of dollars, I'm going to consult a manual, because we're lucky enough to have the manual on this machine. Came with the big blue box, which is like the holy grail of getting, because a lot of times they're missing. It's got every manual for every component, every option. It's pretty thorough. So we're going to go through that and see what we can figure out. Be back. Okay, so here is the infamous blue box with all the Bluebird Wanderlodge secrets inside. It's like a treasure chest. La. Okay, enough of that. Now, let's see if we can find something about the cooling system. Okay. Didn't find what I wanted in there. Let's see. What am I missing?
Hey, baby.
Hello. Okay, so this is other book that I forgot that I had taken out. It was laying in here in the family room area, so where I had been looking at something else. So might be it. Cooling system. 28. There it is. Okay. So here's the shroud. So it looks like, okay, we've got a long lower radiator hose. The upper radiator hose, I think, is our problem. It has this metal pipe, number 24, radiator tube. It's got and then it's got rubber connectors on each end of it. So I believe what I'm gonna have to do is drain the radiator down a little bit and then unclamp this rubber hose from that tube so that I can swing the radiator out. At least that's my story, and at this time I'm sticking to it. We're gonna try that. That's what I mean. Now, went and made this little prop out of some scrap wood. Just got a V on both ends of it, just so it can slide off too easy. And that way we can hold this up here. Go ahead and drain some antifreeze out through the petcock at the bottom of the radiator. Okay, so I'm back inside the Bluebird once again, and I don't know if I need to do this or not, but it looks like it might give me a little bit more access. That top radiator hose has to be unhooked in order to swing the radiator out, and I'm not sure if there's a different hose I can put on there so that I don't have to do that. I don't know for sure. I'll find that out later, but for right now, in order to give me more access to that top radiator hose, I'm going to unhook the intercooler tube right here, and then unhook this like the way I can pull this off and pull that tube back, and that'll give me a little bit more room to take that radiator hose loose. That's not going to work. So let's back to this. Might reach now. Try that again. Does not want to move. Huh. I can put some silicone on that. Let's try this more. Cooperate. With the wrench. That one over there seems like it's working. That'll do. So work this around. Just loosen that up a little bit. Don't want to puncture these. I think those are still pretty good shape. I'm going to spray them with some silicone. I just don't have any today, so I have to get some. There we go. Silicone spray. Alright. See, move this. Yeah, I think it's moving. There we go. Yeah. There we go. Pull that back a little ways now. With that pulled back out of the way, should be able to go out there and hopefully have a little bit better access to that radiator hose. Yeah. Alright, we'll get that clamp off. Well, I wouldn't say it went exactly as planned. I couldn't get an angle. I couldn't get my bucket under the drain on the radiator, and wasn't no place to put a hose on it. So I thought, well, I just needed to get it out a little bit about where it was before to get the bucket under there. And well, as you know, I loosened that clamp on the top hose there, and I was expecting it to extend as far as it did, but it slid off. So I got antifreeze everywhere. I caught most of it, but there's a lot went on the floor, and I've got some sawdust soaking it up, so I've got a little mess to clean up here. So a little bit of a setback on my part, but I do have the radiator swung out, and you can see the fan there. So I do have to take that mount for the intercooler off so that this can swing out, and got antifreeze up to my elbows and my armpits and everything else, so that's always fun. Anyway, I'm going to continue on. I'm going to try to get this mess cleaned up, get some stuff removed so I can swing the radiator out the rest of the way without damaging it, and then we'll have to start working on the shroud and the fan, get those out of the way. I do know that I have an idler pulley that's frozen up, so I'm going to have to either replace that or replace the bearing in it or something. So, not to mention 9 V-belts, the heavy duty semi kind. They're like 25-30 bucks a piece. And then whatever hoses I can identify that are leaking, which I did find when it was running out in the driveway. I did find that some of the smaller hoses look like heater hoses, possibly chassis heater hoses, because they look like, you know, pretty big ones, like 1 inch maybe a little bigger. So I'm gonna have to look at all that. Just got a bunch of stuff I gotta make a parts list for, and hopefully I'll be able to round everything up and get everything back on there relatively quickly. Continuing. Well, we finally got some parts in for the old home of motors over here. Got all kinds of stuff. We got belts and hoses, hose clamps, and you know, this stuff here, this is pricey. This is a silicone 2-inch coolant hose, high temp hose. It's what was on there, so it's what I'm gonna put back. But this little 3-foot section right here is like almost 140 bucks. So quite pricey. These little stainless steel hose clamps here. I hope these will fit, because the range it showed that they fit on the old internet said that they would, but looking at them with my calibrated eye, I'm not knowing for sure if these are going to work. So let's just get this hose up here. Look and see. You can see this this lock nut here is screwed almost all the way out. There. Barely started on there, and it does not fit this hose. I mean, it'll go on there, but now whether or not I can get that on there with this hose hooked onto the radiator or the, you know, the other coolant pipes, the 2-inch coolant pipes, I don't know. So let's check that out. Maybe I can just fit it right here on the radiator and see, just a test fit. Let's see what we come up with. May have a problem. Yeah, may be able to finagle it on there, but the problem is it started. Might have to use some lubricant, some silicone lubricant to put on there and get that rest way on. The problem is this top hose, I've got to put it on the metal tube back there as I'm swinging the radiator in, and there's not a whole lot of room, so I'm not sure how that's going to work out, but we shall see, as they say. Yeah. Confident. Cautiously optimistic is what I would say. I definitely don't want to take that all the way off. I really need some bigger ones. I need some bigger clamps, but the problem is I'm running out of time on this. See, we've got a trip planned in this, and I'm not sure I'll be able to get this back together if I have to order some more. Got good news and bad news. So the 2-inch ones for the regular radiator hoses are just too small. I'm not going to worry with it. I'm just going to order some more that are bigger, and because it said the working range on those was over 2 inches. So it said they were, you know, big enough, but they're not. So I got the next size bigger coming. Good news is though, that the 1-inch ones I got for the heater hose, which is, yes, it's a 1-inch heater hose, they fit perfect. So those are going to work nicely, and that's good because those have to go on first. These are actually the main ones that were leaking. So I got to get under there to put these on first and to kind of work my way out and up on everything else. So ordered some bigger hose clamps for the radiator. I'm going to put these on, and I can start putting the belts on too, so that's good news. And then we'll just be waiting on those, and hopefully I can just get the radiator hoses knocked out one day this week after work. Okay, so now that we have our mess cleaned up down there, our big pan down there under everything to catch whatever comes out, hopefully, we're going to jump in here and pull this bottom radiator hose off. See if we can swing this out a little bit more, and then we're going to go under the passenger side over there and start taking the 1-inch heater hoses off. Okay, now that I've got that heater hose off that I was struggling with, and that is a heavy duty hose. So I'm not sure if that's necessary, but that's a steel woven hose, as well as, I mean, steel reinforced as well as with the fiber. So I don't know, I'm not sure if that's factory, maybe it is, because, you know, up this area right here, you know, this generates quite a bit of heat because it does have a turbo on it and all that stuff. But I don't know. I mean, it runs 190 degrees like anything else, so I don't know. So anyway, we've got 1-inch regular heater hose to go on there. And you can see underneath where that hose has been spliced with a regular heater hose, looking like it failed under there. So those two hoses are definitely what the leak's coming from, because they're dry rotted, they're old. I'd say they're probably original. I may have to check into getting some of that hose. I don't know. We'll look at it and see. But there's another hose I got to get to. That is right back in there behind this pulley. Back in there. I already got the hose clamp loose. So I'm going to try to get under the bus and pull that hose off of there. Wish me luck. Okay, still working on the heater hoses underneath. They're not incredibly easy to get to, but I want to check this out. I want you to see this, what I found on this hose. If you look here on this one that was all frayed, that I chewed up to get off of there, look at this when I bend this down. I don't know if you can see this. But yeah, that is what you don't want on your RV when you're traveling through Death Valley on Route 66 on your way to California. So we're going to get rid of that. All that we can find is going to go into what they call file 86, which is basically the trash. So we're going to put some better stuff on here. So we've got this doodad right here. I cut that heater hose, you can see over there. I think this one hooks up over there. Right there. And then get that wire out of the way. And then the first one I took off hooks here. So I've already pulled it completely out. This one I can't pull out because it's hooked to one of those incredibly rigid hoses. So I'm going to grab something that I can use to cut that in two, something like a Sawzall or something like that. So I'll be back. All right, so we went ahead and broke out the heavy artillery. We're gonna see if we can get that tough hose off of there. Come on here with me. What we're looking at is that one right there with the conduit on it and the antifreeze. It actually looked like that, you know, before I started working on the thing. So I know that was the one that was leaking for sure. That was one of those old ones. So we're gonna get up in here and see if we can cut that. It's pretty tough. Come on. Alright. Let's see if we can go up top side and pull that out. There we go. Alright. So that's a valve that's controlled by what's similar to a soft stop solenoid. Basically just electronically opens and closes that valve right there, whether the whether coolant flows through there, controls the heat of the of the dash heater, I'm assuming. So I'm going to try to get those hoses off of there and get it ready to put the new ones on. Ooh-wee. So got the radiator hose off, the heater hose is off. I still got to take that one real dry rotted one off. Well, what we, by that I mean you and I, need to do next is we got to get under this bad boy and we got to pull off the there's a long 2-inch coolant tube, a steel tube that runs from this side of the engine to the other side of the engine underneath. We need to take that off so that we can clean up the ends of it real good and get some measurements on the short pieces of this we need to make under there, this 2-inch silicone coolant hose, and start fitting all that back in. And we're going to fit this cool looking basically hydraulic hose that's used as coolant hose. This is going to be fun to work with, I can tell you. by looking at it. I mean, because it is stiff. So hopefully I don't have to bend this too aggressively, which I don't think I do. But just getting this up on the fittings, get it snaked around and getting the clamps on it and getting it tightened up good is gonna be fun. And even cutting that stuff. I mean, I don't think I'm gonna use the bandsaw to cut it, but looking at these clamps, these cool 1-inch clamps here, they'll go on there like so, and tighten down evenly. These should be better than the worm gear style clamps for something like this that's going to be, you know, generating a lot of heat, and there's not a lot of ventilation up in there, so I think this is a better choice. Probably had something similar to this on there before, but these hoses, some of them have been changed before, and I think maybe the clamps too, so I'm not sure, but I think this is better. It's what I'm going to use. I hope you agree. Okay, let's slide under this thing and see if we can get that coolant tube off. Now the first thing I want to do here is I want to start using this paint pen and marking some reference marks, because I just want to make sure that I get this clocked back exactly like it is. So we got a line there, line here. I want it rotated at all in these clamps because I'm weird that way. Just want to make sure I put it back exactly like it was, because once it's on there, it's on there. And I want to rule out any possible issues that I've caused if I start having, you know, an issue with a hose rupturing or whatever because it got too hot, because it's too close to something. I want to rule that out immediately. You know, so okay, so there's that. Got this off of here. Got to replace all these green hoses with the new silicone hose I got. Alright, this one here looks like it might be smaller than the others. I don't know. It might have a combination, or maybe this one's bigger. We'll be doing some investigating. Hopefully I don't have to buy more of that hose. It's quite expensive. Well, it is the next day working on the RV, and I didn't film putting those 1-inch basically hydraulic hoses for heater hoses on. Man, that was a job, let me tell you. I'm gonna show you what I did though. I didn't film any of it. It was just, it took a long time, and it was just impossible for me to film it. So, but I can show you what I did. So come in here and check this out. Looking here at the front of the engine, the passenger side over there, you can see right there was one. Now I got in there and I cleaned that with some emery, or sandpaper, more commonly called, and then pushed that hose up on there. That one wasn't too bad. This one here was a bear to get on there, and then I put those good clamps on. And what I had to do, that wasn't actually the hard part. Was the harder part was snaking that down, around, up, and back over to where the heater core is underneath the floorboard over here. What I had to do, I took the air filter out, which is right here, which is huge. Pop that, get it out of the way, and then in and out, in and out, in and out on the creeper, which is fun for a big old boy like me. And run them up over there. But the thing is, I didn't have room for both of them, so I had to take this mounting bracket here off that holds the air cleaner, and I had to plasma cut a big section of it off on the end past the air cleaner, and then a little section of this bracket where it hooks on over in there, the corner off of that, just to make some clearance to where I could run those back up and over. I tried to put them on there without doing that, and there just was not room, so we got them on there now. Next thing is just to go ahead and put the well, there's a solenoid electromagnet that goes on top of that valve right there, and what that does is when you turn the hot and cold on the dash heater, that electronically energizes and opens up a valve to let the coolant flow through the heater core. So that's hanging down here, so I just got to slide that back on there, and there's a screw in the top of it that holds it down. So we're gonna get that on there, put the air cleaner back in it, and then start putting all the 2-inch hoses back on. Let's do it. Well, they sure don't leave you much room for air there on those air intake vents on top of the air filter, because that big oval, I don't know, some type of plenum that seals down on that with that rubber gasket, I mean, it just barely covers them. So you got to have it exactly in the right spot to cover them here, and then this side barely covers it too. So as long as it covers all the holes, I guess we're good, but Lordy, it's tight. Went ahead and used the old radiator hose. I cut it on one side and wrapped it around to use it just as a guard for the new hose so it wouldn't rub. And I went ahead and I hooked it up and then I closed the radiator, swung it in so that I could get a good measurement on where it needed to be to protect the hose, and then just took it back off and put the shield on it. So that should protect it pretty well from, you know, the rubbing, going down the road and all that. So even though the radiator is going to be bolted shut, just from the pressure and the vibration and stuff, you know, it could eventually wear a hole in the radiator hose. So probably overkill, but you know, that's how I roll. Moving on. All right, I got these belts pretty much all tightened, but I forgot to put some Loctite on those threads of this thing, because I had to do a lot of work on this. This is a 7/16 20 thread, so I had to make a sleeve for this that would fit this pulley and fit the screw. So it's press fit, so we're in good shape there, but I just want to make sure we've got some red Loctite on here. There, like that, because I do not want this coming out. And I probably wouldn't come out because the rotation of the engine, I believe, is the same as the rotation of the threads, which is right-handed. So if it was going to work it loose, if it was going to spin the bearing and turn the screwed, it wouldn't turn it the way that would loosen it. So that's good, but can't hurt to have a little bit of added protection. This is the last belt I have to tighten up, so Gonna make sure we get her done and get her done right. Picked up the socket that I knocked in the floor before my red high strength Loctite sets up on me right in front of my face. Alright, we got that tight. And that should, yeah, that spins quite nicely. Now, let's do this again. Set this tension here. Let me get my trusty 1-inch wrench here. And then a 3/4. And I just want to take this and tighten it up until it's straight. Not much deflection. Maybe put just a hair more on it. I was just reaching out there real far. Then tighten up this bolt back here, lock it down. Now the machine work I had to do, also there was more that I had to do on this plate back here. Had to take 157 thousandths off of it because this pulley sat out farther than the other one, so I had to mill that. It was a 1/2 inch plate, so I took 157 off of it, so it's still plenty thick. It's almost 3/8 of an inch, so that won't go anywhere. Got to get another one on that. You should be all right. All right. Yeah, that's locked down good. Now, let's lock this one down again. There we go. It's good and tight. Yep. Yeah, we're all good. I think we're in good shape as far as the belts go. So next thing I got to do is put this short hose on over there. Now that everything's out of my way, I just finally got my new clamps in because I lost one and I had to order more. So they're here. So let's put that on now. All the new hoses are on, all the new belts are on, all the way better hose clamps, the T-bolt hose clamps, stainless steel ones are on, and I am excited that they are on because I'm telling you, this has been a job. Come check this out. So, all we really have left to do is I got to close the radiator up, so I got to test fit the height of that one before I tighten those clamps over there up, the top ones, the 2 top ones, and or 3 top ones, really. And so I'll swing the radiator in, and from here to there, set that, then I'll tighten up those clamps, or that one right there, the top of that vertical blue hose, and that'll set that, and then I'll also tighten up the, well, I'll tighten up that back one on the top blue hose too. Well folks, I think we're about to turn the corner and head down the home stretch and finish this thing up. Here's a list of what I've got left to do as far as I know. if you can see that. So basically, I gotta change 4 clamps on hoses underneath that I didn't replace the hoses. Those hoses are fine. I just want to replace the clamps, get rid of those old worm gear clamps, and put some good clamps on. Then, that shouldn't take too long. I got to install a fan. That shouldn't take too long. Then I got to install the radiator, swing it in, put some bolts in it. But in order to do that, I've got to test fit, like I said, this top and lower radiator hose on the way in, then bring it back out before I put the fan on it. Not too bad. Install the intercooler. It just bolts right up. Install the grill and the parking lights. Swing the bumper up. Bolt it in place. Fill her up with coolant. Fire it up and see what happens. So that's where we're at. Let's try to finish this sucker up. all back together now. Man, what a job. So all set to do, we're going to pump the antifreeze back in it, and we're going to cross our fingers that nothing comes out the bottom anywhere, and then get as much in it as we can, and then we're going to fire it up and let it circulate a little bit, try to push any air bubbles out. Might not get all the coolant in tonight. Got to go work in the morning early, and it's late now, so You know, may have to give it till the morning to let some air work its way out. I don't know, but we're going to go ahead and start putting this coolant in. So what I got going on here now is I'm pumping the old antifreeze back in, and it's been sitting here in the shop since I've had this tore apart. And as you can see, there are some moths and critters and stuff like that floating around in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pull from the middle of this coolant just to pull the clean stuff in, and then when I get down to where I've got a little bit less than a whole bucket, I'm gonna pour it through a strainer and to get all the bigger stuff out of it. This antifreeze is still good, it's not very old, so I just put it in there right after we bought it, which is a couple years. So I'm definitely not going to replace it at this point, you know, especially since we had a leak and we think we fixed it, but that would be bad to put all brand new stuff in it. I mean, 22 gallons is what it holds all together. That's including what's in the chassis heaters and throughout the 1-inch lines all throughout the coach. But this is 10 gallons here, 11, right about 11, about half of it just in the engine and radiator. So we're not going to throw that away. We're going to use it for several more years and then we'll flush it out and change it again. So we went ahead and strained it, and you can see here
just a little bit more specific.
A lot of the stuff that came out of that of those buckets of coolant. So now we'll go ahead and resume, put the rest of this stuff in. Antifreeze out of the buckets in here, and then this is the third. This is actually a gallon of water because we put 1 gallon of 50/50, and then we put a gallon of concentrate, and then now we're putting a gallon of water in. It's pretty close to being full, so it's probably about 14 to 15 gallons we put in. So hopefully this will top it off good enough to where I can start it, and then we'll watch it to see. Okay. Let's take a look. Yeah, that's full. So we're gonna go ahead and fire it up and see what happens. She purrs like a little old kitten. Now, it's definitely not going to get warm. It's not going to get up to operating temperature because this thing runs completely cold until you put it under a load. But what I wanted to do is at least start it up and circulate the coolant that I put in there back through the engine and through all the hoses and all that stuff. look for leaks, and then let it sit overnight, all day tomorrow, and give it a chance for any air bubbles to try to work their way out. And then we'll check the coolant level again, top it back off, and then we'll be off on our camping trip tomorrow night. So just look, we're doing it again. Last minute, putting in long hours trying to get something done so we can go. So at least it's not very far away. We're not going to be putting a whole lot of miles on it, but we're just going to go to a local place and camp for the weekend, just try it out. Wish us luck.